Oh, okay.
I didn't see anybody likely.
No.
Looking around.
I was looking for them in the group.
They said they were gonna be here.
No. I think we know most
No,
everyone
we
here.
do drive to Cherokee.
Since Jeremy said he didn't actually need those.
Probably not, but I mean, I can find it.
Well, when you get a chance, I'll show you. I keep
Think
all
we
that.
go without it?
I think we do without it. If
See, right there it is.
I think so. If we don't need it, I think he was saying it's some grants
File
we
right
got
here.
years ago. And
It's always
people
in
with
there.
cameras, more or less, is what I just
Oh,
hear.
they're deep.
I can go back and look at it and reference it.
This thing just gets on my
What?
last
Mine,
nerve.
mine does. It'll fall.
I was reading before we came in.
Velcro or something.
I'm gonna go back to my.
7 o'clock.
Is it? Goodness.
Everybody ready to roll?
Fix it, change it.
All right. Good evening and welcome to our city council meeting this March the 10th, 2025. I would like to call our meeting to order. We're going to have our invocation led by Pastor Mark Massey from the True Light Tabernacle of Deliverance Church here in Mount Holly, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance from Boy Scout Troop 59. If you would, please stand with me.
Praise the Lord. Let us bow our heads. Father God, we thank you once again, God, for another meeting on tonight, God, that we come, God, to ask you, God, for knowledge and wisdom in moving forward in the things of this community. Now, Lord, we ask that you continue to bless the mayor and all of his constituents and everybody that makes up this community, God, whether it be law enforcement in the medical field. God, just continue to watch over us, continue to bless us, God. Continue to keep us in your hand even during these times. God, we bless these young men that will come in today, these Boy Scouts. And God, we actually just continue to raise them up, lift them up, God, that they may be great and good citizens in this community. Father, we ask all of these things in your name. We know you can and we know you will, and we know that you're able. And God, we call it done, and we thank you now. And it's in Jesus' name that we pray. We thank God, and amen, and amen.
Color guard advance. Color guard post the colors. Salute. Pledge.
Mr. Mayor, City Council, fine folks in Mount Holly. You know, we're going through some tough times right now, Mr. Mayor, right?
Yes, sir.
And you see these young people up here, we're on the grow with our young people. And as I look at these young men standing up here tonight, coming in and taking their time to do this for the city, I really appreciate that. But I want to reach out to the folks of Mount Holly and say, look, let's get behind these young people. Let's start getting involved in the lives of these young people. These kids could be out on the street selling drugs, robbing, stealing, doing all kinds of craziness, and they chose to come in here tonight and do their civic duty. Let's get behind our young people of our community, and let's make a difference. Thank you.
Thank you.
You may be seated. Thank you, Mr. Massey. Thank you to Troop 59 for always being here. We appreciate that. We're going to set the agenda now. There's one change to the agenda. We're going to take off the closed session. Any other changes for the consent agenda?
I'm sorry, this set the agenda? All right, I need a motion to set the agenda. Mr. Huff, second by Mr. Reeves, all in favor? That motion passes. There are 9 items on the consent agenda. Are there any changes? Hearing none, I'd like a motion for that too. Ms. Shoemaker, second by Mr. Craig, all in favor? Motion passes. All right. We're going to go into presentations. Consideration and approval of the final design associated with the Ida Rankin Elementary mural project. Mr. Paul Lowe.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. Give me 1 second. Let me pull up the art, the proposed art that we're working with. So this is the proposed art that Hand in Hand Creative is producing for us at Ida Rankin Elementary School. The PAC looked at this at their February meeting and voted to recommend approval. Staff recommends approval, and I can answer any questions. And if the art is approved, we're going to continue to work with the schools to get an easement to the school system, and it should be completed by the end of May.
Any questions for Mr. Lowe? Ms. Shoemaker?
I'd just like to make a motion to approve the artwork.
Okay, I have a motion by Ms. Shoemaker to approve, second by Mr. Meadows. All in favor? Motion passes. All right, next on the presentations, consideration and approval of the final design associated with the Ida, well, it says Ida Rankin. It's the Rankin Avenue mural project. Mr. Lowe.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. Again, this is the intersection of Hicks Circle, and Rankin Avenue, and this is crosswalk that is going to be installed. Again, if the art is approved tonight, it will be completed by the end of May. And again, PAC recommended approval at the recent meeting, and we recommend approval as staff, and I can answer any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Lowe? All right. Ms. Harris moves to approve, motion to approve, second by Mr. Huff. All in favor? Motion passes. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Lowe.
Thank you very much.
Third on our presentations by the Mount Holly Community Development Foundation. Just members of the foundation are coming up.
I'm Janice McRory, former treasurer of the Mount Holly Community Development Foundation. Christy Reeves will be taking over that position. But as my last official act, and I have board members here with me, I'll let them all say their name.
Tricia Lee.
Jeff Lee.
Angelo Blackwood. Stephanie McLaughlin.
So we wanted to be here tonight to give the city a check for $20,000 for amenities, the Greenway, whatever y'all decide you want to do with it.
All right. That's great. All right. Anything else? Any update?
Anything anybody wants to update them on?
Miss an opportunity.
Former chair and vice chair.
So June the 7th, we've scheduled for the Arts Mount Holly, which will be the business and art crawl throughout downtown. We'll have artists. We're getting all of that organized, but we're really excited about it. And we will do invitations, we'll do a juried art show, and we'll look forward to having you all participate. Again, it's Saturday, June the 7th. Prior evening is a music night, so we'll figure out how to tie all that together. We'll look forward to it.
Well, thank you for the Community Development Foundation for all the things you've done for so many years for our city. We really appreciate your continued efforts and doing great things in our city. Thank you so much.
And we'll continue, especially these newer, younger people.
Thank you.
All right.
And thank you for the money.
Yes.
Thank you. All right. Next on our agenda is public hearing to consider a rezoning request initiated by staff to rezone parcels 218759 and 218760 from H1 to B3, case number R-252. Mr. Paulo. I'm sorry.
No, I just want to recuse myself. Back in December, I done the same thing due to a potential conflict of interest.
On the next.
Okay, gotcha.
Just kidding.
Let me flip the page.
All right, Mr. Lowe.
All right, cool. Sorry about that, thank you. So again, this is a staff-initiated rezoning of about 18.15 acres of land along West Central Boulevard, or excuse me, West Central Avenue, excuse me, from HI to B3. So we reached out to the property owners as well as all the adjoining property owners per state statute, but we went over and above our notice requirements. We sent out certified letters to the owners, and we got our green slips back before today's meeting. So this is a very busy intersection and entranceway into our city, and in the future land use plan, it calls for community corridor, which seeks to have more commercial uses with limited residential development. Staff feels that this is an appropriate request as, again, it's along a major gateway. And then as it relates to uses, we did a analysis. There's 241 allowed uses in the B3 district, and there's 156 in permitted uses allowed by right in the HI district. So that's 85 more uses, or 54% more uses in the B3 versus the HI. The Planning Commission held a hearing on this last week, and they voted to recommend approval, and staff recommends approval, and I can answer any questions.
Any questions before we go into our public hearing? No questions? All right, I need a motion to go in our public hearing. Mr. Huff, second by Ms. Harris. All in favor? We are now in our public hearing. I have two folks to speak at our public hearing. First up is Mr. Chris Hargett. If you would, state your name and address when you come to the podium, please.
Hey, Council. Chris Hargett. The address for our business at hand is 801 West Central Avenue. I've got one of the biggest properties on the H1 that's there. I missed the first hearing. Communication, I know Greg and several members here that we just didn't meet up. You know, life gets busy. You miss things, you know what I mean? But we've had it on the market for quite some time, and we are all about doing what you are visioning, and we just want to keep an open forum and communication on what we're trying to do. B3 can hinder some businesses, and it can avoid bringing in potential. So we would like you to kind of leave it unconditional, and we work with Greg and the other guys here, and we bring in all proposals and see what meets the need for, you know, the city and everybody. You know, we're not trying to limit anything, and we're not trying to block anything. I think it's a good use. I think getting rid of the residential, you know, getting rid of the heavy use is warranted, and what y'all are wanting is warranted. I don't want to limit the vision to a certain type of B3. I would love for everyone to just leave it unconditional, and let's see what comes available in the market, because we've had it in the market, same as y'all have had potentials come in and say they would like to buy it, but we haven't all interlinked to have the opportunity for all of us to head forward. And I'm not trying to hinder it. I just want the council and everybody in the city to work with us, and let's see what happens and get it moved.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hargett.
Yes, sir.
Next, we have Zach Simpson.
Thank you all for having me. I'm the broker helping Chris kind of sell this property. So I've been talking to a lot of developers and folks like that. I think to protect that corridor, B3 is the right option here. I'm just asking that we can work hand in hand with the city and kind of master plan that 14.48 acres. Y'all are going to have the final say-so, and it's going to make it a lot easier if we can all kind of work together. Maybe the front half, the front corridor is one thing, and then the back has another maybe conditional use. We've seen a lot of opportunity, and I get a lot of inquiries on this property, and I think it's going to be a great track and kind of a great gateway into your city. Just asking that we can work with Greg, Paul, and everyone and kind of put together something that we all agree on to master plan it and not just limit ourselves what's under B3. Because there has been some folks who wanted to discuss, retail up front, kind of mixed-use community aspect with some housing in the back. I know we don't have housing in B3, so just asking that we can all kind of just work together to make that property not what it is right now. So,
All right, thank you, sir. Mr. Beal?
Yeah, I just wanted to add, I've known Chris since he bought that. Historically, we all know that you grew up around here. It's not been a very active use over the years. We've had some very significant code issues on the site. Chris had the best intentions with his business, and that's why we didn't initiate the zoning years back with his resource recovery solutions, his commercial recycling. That's going away. So now what we're seeing in the market is we're seeing more interest in developing light industrial parks elsewhere, and y'all have been kept aware of that as council and the mayor in our weekly updates. This is our gateway. There's a lot of horrible uses in heavy industrial, slaughterhouses, rendering plants, stuff that would create a smell, light pollution, various other things, that we have little control over. So I appreciated the conversation from both Zach and Chris today. We had a very well thought out conversation. We look at this as the first piece in protecting our corridor. We did it with the Gateway Center, and look what it's brought in, $150 million in private investment so far. I could tell you some projects right now, Woodlawn Mill, Mount Holly Cotton Mill, OMB, that we collaborated on a plan that was good for everyone. And those three right there are going to bring in $27 million in private investment. Woodlawn Mill just got funding for $17 million from Bank of America. So I think this is a first step to protect the corridor, and we would certainly work on a conditional plan. The land use plan does call it to be mixed use here, essentially retail, office, services up front, and you could do some, if council chose, to look at limited residential in the back or some kind of master plan component. But that would be a future rezoning. But that I just wanted to add some context because, that's important. We don't want to force somebody and have them lose property because they can't find a buyer. There's ways to move this forward.
All right, anything else, Mr. Lowe?
That's all I had. Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, I need a motion to go out of our public hearing back into our regular meeting. Mr. Meadows, second by Ms. Shoemaker. All in favor? We're back in our regular meeting. Mr. Meadows.
I'm trying to understand the property owner's request. Is it to support going to the B3, or are they wanting us to hold up and come back with a CD later? I'm not understanding exactly.
I think B3 right now, and then a CD later when we work with these developers and figure out kind of what we need to do.
Thank you for that clarity.
Mr. Meadows.
Make a motion to approve.
Okay, I have a motion to approve, second by from Mr. Meadows, second by Ms. Shoemaker. All in favor? The motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Lowe.
Thank you very much.
Okay, our second public hearing is to consider rezoning a portion of 2.13 acre tract of land located at 501 Belmont Mount Holly Road, tax parcel number 183899 from R12 single family to B3 general business as submitted by Billy Rick, case number R-253. And this is the public hearing that Mr. Craig will recuse himself from. All right. Mr. Beal.
So yeah, I think we just went through this exercise in January. So what happened after that is if you look at the map right here, you see that frontage parcel with Mr. Rick has already transformed a lot. He's cleaned up the site. The plan was to create 3 residential homes infill, largely supported by the community because at one time we had some interest from a convenience store that would have probably put the gas canopy right in here, a lot of traffic, a lot of impacts to the neighborhood. So that was a balanced approach. After the hearing, Mr. Rick's client that he's under contract with for the business asked that this 90 Logan Lane, which was, if you look, parcel 1, 2, 3, and the 4th piece was where the commercial, he wanted some more commercial land. He wanted to do a rear addition and some parking. And so asking that R12 zone land be rezoned back to B3 general business. staff supports it. It was taken to the planning commission. They approved recommendation unanimously at their meeting last Monday night. And this would just essentially create a bigger commercial piece on the frontage. Mr. Rick is here in the audience to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions from council? Okay. We're going to move forward into our public hearing. I need a motion to go into our public hearing. Mr. Huff, second by Mr. Reeves. All in favor? We are now in our public hearing. We have one person signed up for the public hearing, Mr. Billy Rick.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. Just, I think.
Please state your name and address, please.
I'm sorry. Billy Rick, 324 Riverside Drive, Mount Holly. I think Greg covered everything. I was here a couple months ago for the request and literally walking out the door, signed the contract on what I'm going to call Lot 1, which is 501 Belmont Mount Holly Road. Part of that contract is to add on about 800 square feet to the back of the existing structure. So there's a need to have more room in the back part of that parcel for parking, because the parking has to be in the rear part and for the addition. So we're just asking to change that back to B3 for 501 Belmont Mount Holly Road.
Any questions for Mr. Rick? Mr. Bill, you have anything else?
No, sir. Good. Staff supports the rezoning. It's consistent with the statement of consistency you have in your packet.
Okay. All right, well, I need a motion to go over our public hearing back into our regular meeting. Mr. Huff, second by Ms. Shoemaker. All in favor? Okay. Hold on one second. We're back in our regular meeting. Ms. Harris.
I move to approve.
I have a motion to approve by Ms. Harris, second by Mr. Reeves. All in favor? Motion passes.
Thank you, Council.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now we're going to go into our public comment. If you would state your name and address, you have 3 minutes. At the 1 minute point, I will say that you have 1 minute left, okay? Our first person that has signed up is Mr. Gary Brinkley.
Good evening. My name is Gary Brinkley. I live at 176 Tom Sawyer Lane here in Mount Holly. Last month, a speaker used a phrase that all of you as parents have used at one time or another. No means no. Those of you that have raised teenagers have said this or something similar, or in fact, I imagine many of you may have heard these words yourselves. What part of no do you not understand? Both these phrases apply here to the Veterans Park, the downtown redevelopment effort. Citizens have clearly spoken, both in the bond vote and here in the public comments of city council meetings. No means no. We've been told that there are people in favor of the redevelopment efforts. I ask, where are they? I have not seen anyone come here to speak in favor of the proposed development. Either they don't exist or they're so mildly in favor of the project that they don't want to take the time to come speak in favor of it. I hear a lot of no's and no yeses. I have spoken previously about my personal objections, traffic, parking, and local school impact. At the most recent City Council retreat, we were told in rapid-fire commentary that the proposal would not increase property taxes. I didn't really see enough to understand all those numbers. It was all verbal, so I didn't really see any documentation on that. But there was no mention of my objections. I'll also mention that no one has bothered to approach me personally about my concerns. I'm not hard to find. In fact, I live in the same neighborhood as two council members. The rest of you I know have my phone number and my email address, and I give you my address every time I talk. I'm not hard to find. Mr. Blanton knows how to find me if anybody doesn't know where to go. Having received no feedback, I have to conclude there is no feedback or the answers are not pretty. If council is meant to respond to citizens' concerns, let's hear it before further money is spent, not after. Saying the developer will do it is too late. If council is to spend $3 million more on property, citizens need to be informed and on
1 minute
before our hard-earned dollars are spent. You are spending our money, not yours. I'm going to switch topics just a little bit and comment on the proposed sale of the Historical Society building. It strikes me as ironic that one of the reasons for selling is reluctance to spend money to fix up an old building with our environmental issues, and yet council may be willing to buy property that may have serious environmental issues and unknown expense. You can't have it both ways. Selling the museum is wrong. Apparently, it's in good enough shape to allow the museum to stay open and people to come and work there and visit. So spend as little as necessary to support the museum. It's far less than upfitting the building. Keep the museum near the citizens.
Mr. Brinkley,
Street.
thank you. Next, we have Steve DeAvria.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council. My name is Steve DeAvria, 1024 Heatherlock Drive, Gastonia. I am here on behalf of the One Gaston 2040 Committee, a group of about 50 of us that are making Gaston great in so many different ways, including folks, some residents here, and some staff members. I got to choose any city council I could attend, and I chose Mount Holly this year. So I'm also going to request $20,000 since you guys just got that okay, I don't need
Good luck with that.
money on that, but you never know if you don't ask. So before I give this update, though, I do want to thank Mayor Moore, Manager Blanton. We're going to have an all-elected officials event April the 9th. It is going to be hosted here at the Grand Hall. So we're looking forward to all of our elected officials within Gaston County getting to be part of Mount Holly on that day. This is One Gaston 2040 week. We're really blasting that message. We've been working on this for the last 2.5 years. It's powered by public-private collaboration. Gaston Together is the nonprofit. Gaston County government has been the funding agency for the most part. We've been using qualitative and quantitative data review processes and focused in 5 different areas. One is One Gaston Cares. It is our healthy Gaston. It is a way that we can make a healthier community here in Cherville, in Gastonia, Lowell, et cetera, working together with our health departments, our healthcare agencies, our hospital systems, and has been a partnership so far, especially getting outside into our natures and our parks. One Gaston Connects. We all connect by roads, but we also connect by broadband, by rivers, by rail. Those are opportunities, and we have to get those experts in the room and making sure, not just for ourselves, but our kids and our grandkids as they need to travel within Gaston and much more beyond.
1 minute.
One Gaston Grows. We maximize housing options, adequate infrastructure, and natural amenities. One Gaston Works. Utilizing information of economic development and common goals with our workforce development. And finally, One Gaston Shines, utilizing this social media to highlight all the great things that are happening in Gaston County. So I ask you guys to get involved by looking at our Gaston Community Explorer. Put a QR code there. You can go to onegaston2040.org. Help spread the word and be a part of it, not just the folks sitting on this side, but the folks that are sitting here as well. If you have a passion for Gaston County, I'm sure you can find one of those 5 areas to assist with. I thank you and look forward to seeing you guys April the 9th.
Thank you, Steve.
Thanks, Steve.
Next, we have Miss Glenda Painter.
Good evening. I'm Glenda Painter, 404 Timberlane Drive, Mount Holly. I'm here tonight to represent the Community of Mount Holly Awards Dinner Committee. First of all, we want to thank Mount Holly for putting the notice in the water bill so everybody knew what was happening and when that's going to be. Most of you know that this dinner is a part of the Spring Festival Week, and it's very important. This is going to be our 73rd year of having the Mount Holly Community Dinner. It will be in the Grand Hall, Thursday, May 2nd. Tickets will be $15 each, and they'll go on sale next week. Right now, we're currently asking for nominations for the 2025 Man and Woman of the Year. We like to get nominations covering all different areas. Anybody is open to sending in a nomination, and we do ask those to be sent to P.O. Box 336, Mount Holly, or you can send it email to robertdblack1954@gmail.com. And we do have a deadline of April 14th so that we can get all of that together and get the people elected. We hope that all of you in the council will be able to come, and all of the people in Mount Holly can come. It's going to be a great meal. We talked about it this morning. It's going to be really good. And you would have a chance to win a door prize and fellowship with all the other people from Mount Holly. And we know you will enjoy all the award presentations and the most anticipated part of the evening when the new Man and Woman of the Year is elected. We look forward to seeing you there, and we thank you for all your participation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Painter.
Okay.
Next, we have Mr. Rodney Williams.
Rodney Williams, 315 South Main Street in Mount Holly. Tonight, I want to speak about the $3 million worth of contaminated property you have under contract on East Central. The city does not need this property. The citizens do not want this property. While some council members may want this property, nobody needs it. You say you want to control what's allowed, and you just rezoned 2 properties to control what's allowed. You didn't own that property, but you rezoned it and you control what's on that property. That's the right process to use, and a process you're very familiar with. It costs taxpayers nothing. You run environmental tests at 2 locations, found contamination on 1. You may hear an estimate tonight to remediate 1 small piece, but in total there's 6 parcels and 5 structures. No way you're going to have a cleanup cost without further tests. The cost of this land, including minimum environmental cleanup, is over $4 million and could exceed $6 million. I totaled the tax value of the homes of the 6 council members and averaged them out. Council's average home value is $462,000. Mine is $456,000. I applaud you. You've done well. You have disposable income. I look at social media. You're doing cruises, concerts, and sporting events, dining in nice restaurants. $500 or $600 a year to pay for tax increases and water bills is not a big deal for you. Some of our citizens are not that fortunate. One emergency, they could be homeless. Some people have to choose between blood pressure medicine and a dozen eggs. And the price of eggs will make you need that blood pressure medicine. If the city has $4 or $5 million you don't need, it's burning a hole in your pocket. I'll tell you how we need to spend it. Let's give our senior citizens a discount on their water bill, or use the Homestead Act and give our fixed income property owners a reduced tax bill. When the citizens elected you, they entrusted you to be financially responsible with our tax dollars. Ask yourself, would you take money from your
1 minute
account and invest in contaminated property? If you answer no, then your vote tonight should be no. I ask you again, use zoning to control this property. Don't burden the tax citizens with unknown costs and liabilities. Thank you.
Thank you, Rodney.
Thank you. Next is Mr. Bob Hendricks.
Good evening. My name is Bob Hendricks, address 122 Creekside Drive in Mount Holly. I want to talk about something called perspective. It was already brought up once by Gary earlier this evening, but think about this. We no longer have an interest in pursuing the Historical Society because of a number of reasons, one of which is the contamination that goes with it and the expense. Yet here we are looking to purchase more contamination. I mean, do you want contamination, or you're trying to unload contamination? My suggestion is we consider a phase 2 and see if it isn't a little deeper than what we probably already think. The second thing is there are so many good things going on in Mount Holly. After attending the, whatever that thing was last Saturday, the retreat, I found it interesting that we had 111 items on the agenda, And there are so many things that have been accomplished and so many good things that are happening in this city. And there happens to be maybe 2 or 3, and maybe call me naive, maybe there's more than that, but at least 2 or 3 items that divide. I think I heard a guy say, no means no. I don't give a fat rat's rear end what your personal agenda is or how much you want to pursue the strategic vision. Drop a couple of items on the strategic vision and move on and make the rest of it enjoyable. If you have a personal agenda, drop it. That's not why you were elected. This city needs to reconsider the property for the Veterans Park project.
1 minute.
I would go so far, and I want to be clear, this is not intended at any one person sitting in the city council or its representatives of any sort. But there's a term called negligent. I did a little homework on the term negligent. It has some very serious ramifications, some of which could be taken very, very personal, if in fact not considered seriously. I would recommend, rather than potentially be found negligent in your responsibilities, which in fact means you can be personally held responsible and liable, my suggestion is you hear that no means no. No misunderstanding that, is there? We don't want it. Let's be clear. We don't want it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hendricks. Next, we have Mr. Clyde Davis.
Hi. Before we get started, I want to thank my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, for moving me to Mount Holly. The years that I've worked with most of you have been pleasurable. With that, my name is Clyde Davis. I live at 308 Piedmont Avenue here in Mount Holly. And I'm going to address the $3.1478, whatever that number is, $1 million challenge we have before us. When you're a buyer and you hire an inspector and they find a material defect in a property, the responsibility to correct that material defect is the seller's. So I'm a little confused by all the Keystone Cop activity going on here to find out how much is it going to cost to dig the ditch and remove all the waste and on and on and on. I'm here to tell you that's not our responsibility. Now, you can renegotiate, you can find out what it's going to cost, you can have the seller pay for it and address that real cost, but they're going to have to do that anyway. If we back out as a city, that deal stays there and that material fact never goes away. So from a real estate perspective, it's just a deal. And you can always bring it back. And I think it's better if we know what we're buying than to put more risk on us. I'm not sure if those numbers, $4 million, are accurate, but I've been through that before. At a Pepsi plant, a hydraulic spill in a parking lot was $2.8 million. It wasn't a big parking lot, and it wasn't a big spill. And the problem is you just don't know. So until that problem is resolved, I think we park and wait. We have time. Nobody else can buy it because it's got a material defect. I yield.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Next, Ms. Corinne Kay.
Good evening, everyone. My name's Corinne Kay, and I reside at 818 South Main Street here in Mount Holly. And I'm coming here today to speak to everyone on the council and here in here and just to say hello. I'm relatively new to Mount Holly. I lived for 20 years in Washington, D.C., and I had the blessing and the pleasure of moving to this wonderful community about 2 years ago. I love Mount Holly. And I come here as president of Arts on the Greenway, which is very wonderfully located just across the street here at 500 East Central Avenue. Excuse me. I wanted to extend my personal invitation as one of your newer neighbors to please come and visit me and the artists that reside there and make art at Arts on the Greenway. Wanted to let you know we have a lot of exciting events that we have planned for this year, and in the next month I'll be prepared to announce a number of them to you. Last year we maybe had a couple dozen things that we had done where we had participated within the community, and this year we have over 100. We're very proud to develop and grow, and we care very much about making a difference and an impact within the community so we can make it better for everyone. Art has a way of bringing people together and being creative in a wonderful way. We're developing programs where parents and children can work together and come in. We are, as we speak, developing programs where we can have our seniors come in so they can have friendship and fellowship and be able to learn to make art or just have time in the company of others. It matters very much. We'd like to work with different departments and branches of the government within Mount Holly so that if there's ways that we can be of service to you and help.
1 minute.
Find a way to use art to enhance your program, I encourage you to please come and visit me and visit our website at artsonthegreenway.org and find out what we're doing, because we care about becoming a vital part, a place you can come to enjoy that's safe and friendly and a way to enhance the quality of your wonderful community here. We care about being a part to that. I just wanted to thank the council, the mayor, and the manager, and please come and say hello. I'd really love to meet you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Kay. Next, we're going to move on to old business. We're going to have an update on the Veterans Park expansion. Mr. Blanton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members of the public. A month ago, I came and gave an update on where we were with the Veterans Park expansions in regards to the property acquisitions on Central Avenue at the retreat. I gave an additional update on where we stand with that. A month ago, I stood here and talked about that we would be moving forward with a Phase 1 environmental. And first and foremost, I want to apologize to any member of council or the public if there was some confusion about what exactly we would be undertaking. Over the last couple of weeks, I've received some inquiries where it appeared as though I perhaps was not clear enough at the retreat or at the council meeting with what we would be pursuing and what those findings were. So I want to spend a little bit of time tonight just discussing the findings, discussing how we got where we currently are this evening and what the actual matter before the council is tonight. So just as a refresher, I've shared this picture with you guys many times. Everything in yellow is property that the city of Mount Holly has acquired and currently owns along Catawba Avenue. Everything in blue are properties that we currently have under contract with Dean Stroop and Steve Sisk. These contracts are roughly $3.4 million. If you will recall, we were set to close on these properties in the fall. Council approved a 6-month extension, which got us to May 2nd with the examination period ending. For those of you that were not at the retreat, council did approve a 10-day extension at no cost, which got us to March 12th, which is of course this Wednesday. This was done because we had not received the final environmental reports that we were undertaking, that we were hoping to have by the retreat. Unfortunately, we did not get that, but I do want to share with you some of the results that we do have. We did order a Phase 1 environmental assessment of these properties that we currently have under contract. They were received on February the 19th, which was roughly a week after the last regular city council meeting. They indicated that we needed further review of 122 and 206 East Central Avenue. So 122 East Central Avenue was determined to have been an auto repair shop in the late 40s, and 206 East Central Avenue is not property that the city is currently acquiring, but it did indicate that this was an abutting property that at one time in the late 1950s, early 1960s was a laundromat. The Phase 1 indicated that we would need to install 2 monitoring wells to assess assess the extent of any potential contamination on the site. These are where the monitoring wells were installed. We had 2 installed, the temporary monitoring wells. I'd hoped to have those results to the council by February 28th, but we did not get those results until March 3rd. The monitoring well results were received, and it showed that there was soil contamination adjacent to 122 East Central Avenue. That is the property where the former auto repair shop in the 1940s was. So last week, we evaluated the situation to see exactly what would be needed to address that situation, how serious the situation was. I did receive 2 quotes over the last week, the last one coming in Friday, that ranged between $14,000 to $29,000 to clean up these costs. They went 3 to 5 feet. They found potential contamination. They went down farther, and they did not find any additional contamination. These results were forwarded to a couple of contractors that looked at the situation. Out of an abundance of caution, as I spoke about last month, we did do a full environmental assessment on all the property that the city currently owns on Catawba, including 206, the 206 Catawba, the property we most recently acquired, as well as these properties that are under contract. And this was the only noted issue that came back, was the issue next to the auto repair shop, former auto repair shop at 122 East Central. So wanted to share this update with council, with the public this evening. As I mentioned, our examination period for these properties with Mr. Strube and Mr. Sisk will end this Wednesday on March the 12th. I am glad to answer any questions or provide any clarity that council may have this evening on these issues.
Any questions for Mr. Blanton? Can't do it. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Blanton. I would like to make a statement. Before the council tonight is the last opportunity to cancel the contracts for property owned by Dean Stroop and Steve Sisk. These contracts total over $3.4 million, and there does not appear to be a clear path forward. To date, the city has already spent over $3.5 million on what was supposed to be the Veterans Park expansion project. Of that, over $2.6 million has been spent on property acquisition on Catawba Avenue. Originally, the plan was that the city would purchase these properties and immediately sell them to a developer. That never happens. We do not have a development agreement and had only one proposal from North State Development that indicated a $8 to $15 million funding gap based on plans the city provided. The city has consulted numerous consultants, none of which have provided a viable path forward. The last consultant indicated that it would be 2046 before the city recouped the $3.5 million investment on the Stroop and Sisk properties. To move forward with these purchases means millions of dollars of taxpayer dollars will have to be spent to subsidize the development potentially of 250 homes downtown, and even that is uncertainty because no developmental agreement has been reached, which makes assembling and developing a challenge and a great risk for any future developers. As mayor, I am not in favor of continuing on this path and would prefer the $3.5 million be used towards the development of a park on land already owned by on Catawba Avenue. I'm asking council to cancel these 2 contracts and get back to where we started, building a park downtown. Mr. Reeves.
I'm going to make the motion that we terminate the 2 properties and sale contract with Dean and Stroop Family Limited Partnership and purchase and sale agreement with SPCS Properties for properties located from 120 East Central Avenue to 140 East Central Avenue. These contracts exceed $3.4 million, and I'm no longer in favor of moving forward with these accusations.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Harris, by Mr. Reeves, a second by Ms. Harris. Discussion. Any discussion?
I don't have anything.
Okay. All right. So there's a motion and a second on the floor. I need to take a vote on this. All in favor? We have Reeves and Harris, all opposed. We have Huff, Mr. Craig, Ms. Shoemaker, and Mr. Meadows. So the motion fails. All right, anything else, Mr. Blanton?
Not unless council wishes to take additional action on these properties. We are set to move forward with the examination period ending on March 12th. Council's comfortable, city attorney and I will work forward on scheduling a closing for these properties.
All right, we'll be moving forward. All right, next on old business, consideration of a resolution to accept the offer of $762,500 and initiate the upset bid process for 131 South Main Street. Mr. Blanton and Ms. Anders.
I can kick it off, Mr. Mayor. At the February 28th retreat, I reported that the city had received an offer to purchase 131 South Main Street, the former City Hall building, for $762,500. This was from Logan Abrams and Tricia Scott of Realty One Group. At that time, it was directed by council that we move forward with confirming this offer and taking the necessary steps to initiate the upset bid offer, accepting this offer subject to the upset bid process. We've been working on this. Ms. Anders and I spoke about this earlier today. We think that we are close to a position to be able to do that, but I will defer to Ms. Anders to speak with any additional information she may have on that.
Ms. Anders?
Thank you. So the offer is in a 30-day due diligence period with a closing to occur on or before 60 days from the end of the due diligence period. In working with Mr. Blanton, Mr. DuPont, and staff, I prepared a proposed addendum to the contract to add a few more terms that would be appropriate for the city to include. This addendum included that the city would reserve at closing an easement for the Armed Forces emblem that's on the northern wall of the building, an easement sufficient to keep the utility equipment currently installed on the property that serves downtown streets and festival lights, and also to make it clear that this sale is as is, where is, and the buyer would pay for closing costs and the cost of publication. So that addendum was sent to the bidders on Thursday. I have been in contact with the bidders, and they have not expressed any objection to those matters. They did seek some clarification on the needed easements, and Mr. DuPont was kind enough to forward pictures, which was relayed to them. And so I believe that these would be appropriate amendments to their offer. I've heard no objections to them for those amendments. So their proposed bid with the addendum is what's before you for approval. If you would like to approve it, the statutory process under North Carolina General Statute 168-269 is for you to first adopt a resolution that was in your council agenda packet accepting the offer with the addendum and authorizing the upset bid procedure. At that point, the bidder has indicated that they would deposit the 5% of the bid as required by law tomorrow. And once that's received, the city clerk, Ms. Douglas, would run a notice in the newspaper proposing a 10-day upset bid period, and that would be published in the Gaston Gazette. That legal ad is ready to go. Once the 10-day period is over, then the city clerk would open any upset bids that she may receive. If there are none, then this sale would be final. And if there are no additional qualifying upset bids that are received, then by approving this resolution tonight, council would be approving this bid to move forward. And at that point, the bidders would move forward with their due diligence period.
Any questions for Ms. Anders or Mr. Blanton? Mr. Meadows.
So you've counseled us before that the ability to cancel this contract on the council side is still available to us, correct? If something were to change and we decided not to move forward, you could cancel this contract.
That is correct during the 10-day upset bid period. And if you receive any further upsets as well, you could come back at that point. But I would caution you that the way that the resolution is written right now, that if you accept it, if there are no further upsets, at that point, the city would be in a contract.
Mr. Meadows?
So that was my understanding, that we could exit at any time, and you're saying this is a little different than what we had talked about structurally.
Okay, and I want to be clear on this point. The city council can exit at any time during the negotiation of the process, the upset bid period. If there are any upset bids, you can reject any and all offers instead of accepting another one. But the only point I was trying to clarify is once the upset bid procedure is complete and the city is in a contract, then at that point, the city can no longer back out.
Mr. Meadows?
Help me understand what upset bid period complete means. That means the 10 days up? That means that we're out of the due diligence, and what is the out of the due diligence? I'm sorry, out of that process, what does that mean? I'm not tracking.
If the 10-day period is up and there are no further upsets, then the way that this resolution is written, there's no requirement to come back and be confirmed a second time.
Anything else? Would council like to take action on this? Mr. Meadows?
So I move approval.
Okay, second by Mr. Craig. All in favor? It is unanimous. Moving on to new business, review, consider, and provide feedback concerning a draft ordinance to regulate dead, dangerous, and diseased trees. Mr. Blackwell.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, citizens of Mount Holly. We presented this update to the City Code of Laws back in August of 2024, and with direction from Council, went back and consulted with the city attorney to find the appropriate place in the City Code of Laws to add this ordinance, which would regulate dead, dangerous, and diseased trees. We found that it would be best located in the current nuisance section of the City Code, and if there was a violation of this ordinance, that the violation would be abated using the same process as current nuisance abatement. That would mean that a violation letter would be sent. The violator would be given 15 days to take care of the violation. If they did not take care of it within the 15-day period after being notified via certified mail, then the city would go out and abate the nuisance. The violator also has the option to request that the city go ahead and abate the nuisance at our cost. Then we would send a bill to the violator, whether we abated it at their request or at our own doing. If the bill was not paid within a 30-day period, then the cost would go to a lien against the property. You have the red lines for this item in your packet. And it states that any tree or portion of a tree that is dead, diseased, infested, otherwise causing a hazard to public health, safety, or welfare, projecting into a public street or right-of-way, shading or obstructing a street light, obstructing vision of traffic signs or signals, interfering with the passage of pedestrians on any street or sidewalk, or obstructing the view of operators of vehicles on any street or intersection. This would be considered a nuisance violation, and we would go through the nuisance abatement process. Staff recommends that you adopt and approve this updated ordinance, and I can answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions for Mr. Blackwell? Would council like to take action? Mr. Meadows? Second by Mr. Reeves. All in favor? Motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Blackwell. We're going to move on to our city manager report. Mr. Blanton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. For council and the public tonight, I have several updates on some important projects that we've been working on. But first, I want to underscore our thanks to our friends at the Mount Holly Community Development Foundation and our friends at Arts on the Greenway for being here tonight. It is always good to be able to collaborate here about the great things that you guys are doing, and certainly work with you guys on the $20,000 donation. Just to speak a bit more to that, that money will be going towards the Dutchman Creek Bridge. That project was awarded at our retreat to J.D. Goodrum. This is a long time in the making. This will be building the bridge, River Street Park, which will connect that segment of Greenway, which will be a tremendous asset to our Greenway system, and we are very much looking forward to getting that process kicked off. It's likely going to take around 8 to 9 months once we finally break ground moving forward with that, but that will be a wonderful addition to our Parks and Recreation system, and I certainly want to again thank our friends at the Foundation for partnering with us on that project. A few other projects are going on. We're quite busy around the city. Also at the retreat, the City Council moved forward with approving the contract for the South Gateway Connector Road, which will eventually become the Kemp A. Michael Way behind the Fairfield Inn, connecting the YMCA Drive and Caldwell Drive. That was awarded to Red Clay. This is another project that's been a long time in the making, so we are looking forward to breaking ground on that project to open up the hundreds of millions of dollars of development in the South Gateway behind the Fairfield Inn. We also tonight, the contract for some repaving around Hawthorne downtown across the city was awarded to Quinn Sales. We're going to be moving forward with that throughout the next few months in order to spend some of our PAL bill money before our June 30th deadline. As you came into the Grand Hall tonight, you may have noticed that our sound upgrades have been completed. This is a very exciting amenity that has been added that will hopefully help with the acoustics in here and continue to make our premier event space here in Mount Holly the best in Gaston County. I'm very proud of this project, very excited to see the events that we have in the upcoming days, and certainly appreciate council's support in moving forward with that project. Also, if you've been down Glendale, progress at Ransom Hunter Park continues to make its way into fruition. This will be done hopefully in the next couple months and will be a wonderful project. But it's a great time to be in Mount Holly. And for those of you that don't know, it's brought to my attention before I came down earlier today that tomorrow, March 11th, marks 146 years of incorporation for the city of Mount Holly. So it's an exciting time to be here. I'm looking forward to seeing these projects and so many more projects come into fruition. Appreciate the council's support and the public support that I have heard on a lot of these projects that will greatly enhance our quality of life. So I am happy to answer any questions or address any issues that Mayor, Council may have for me this evening.
Any questions for Mr. Blanton? Okay. Thank you to all the citizens that are here tonight and your involvement and your concerns, and thank you all for being here. I need one more motion to adjourn. Ms. Shoemaker, second by Mr. Reeves. All in favor? We are adjourned. 8. 1 hour and 1 minute. 1 minute.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.